Homeopathy came to India quite a long time ago. The first time homeopathy was used was on Maharaja Ranjit Singh, who suffered from facial paralysis. And at that time, one of the students of the founder of homeopathy, Hahnemann, his student, a man called Honigberger, was visiting India. He offered to treat Ranjit Singh with homeopathy, and he cured him. There are 2-3 things very interesting about homeopathy in India. The first is that we have more homeopathic doctors, of course, than anywhere else. I believe maybe 600,000-700,000 homeopaths in India. We have the maximum number of colleges, the maximum number of pharmacies, book publishers, and we have the highest degree of recognition of homeopathy in India than anywhere else in the world with regard to the government. I believe a couple of months ago, the government appointed its first minister for alternative medicine and homeopathy.
If I go back to like when I was in nursery, I was very alone. I didn't mix with other kids the way they would mix with each other. Or something that would say, why can't I do that? I used to get these panic attacks. We went to some physicians in Mysore and they said, physically it's fine, go to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist saw me, they said, there's nothing wrong with him actually in terms of mental health, but they said he's severely depressed. He's extremely depressed, and they said we would keep him here for some time, and I was there in the hospital for a fortnight, and they started me on antidepressants. For over half a decade, I was on antidepressants. Amylene wasn't really doing much. I used it for a couple of years. I was on protein given the highest dosages.
There are a lot of pathologies out there, bad. You have cancers, you have rheumatoid arthritis, you have diabetes, you have hypertension, you have all these things, chronic. And in every single one of these chronic problems, without exception, the modern medical treatment is short term. It comes with its own side effects. It comes with increasing dosage. And there is no real healing possible. Definitely it has its role. Modern medicine has its role. Definitely when a person is in agony, when a person is in severe states, when a person is suffocating to death, you definitely need bronchodilators and steroids. So, in emergency situations, in severe conditions, definitely we are not standing on this pathy or that pathy. We are standing on what is good for the patient, what's going to save his life at that moment. But to use that emergency treatment as the standard treatment for everyone, it doesn't really make sense, because you know that if you use that over and over, you're only going to get more and more into the disease. I had a kind of eureka moment. It was a long time ago. When I was driving the car, it was in Juhu Beach. I still remember when I took the turn over there. And suddenly a thought flashed into me. Potentized remedies have dynamic effect only, which means that the homeopathic dose is so ultra dilute that it nearly contains no material at all, and therefore it cannot act really on any organ systems. It can only act on the dynamis, it can only act on the whole organism.
I'm basically scared of being hurt. I don't like to be hurt by anyone. And that's what I'm scared of all the time. That someone would hurt me. Maybe.
When he came first, he was, to use a bad term, scared shit. And he said he had a altercation with the rickshaw driver outside with regard to some change. And he came in and he was so afraid that he would go out and the rickshaw driver would be there to finish him off. And then I understood from his past history that his whole childhood and his entire life, the experience of the depression for him, which was his major problem, was fear. A lot of fear. The feeling was very nicely put in his dream that he was being chased by a lion. And the interesting thing was that nobody else was being chased. He was being singled out. And he ran into a building and he climbed and he went to the terrace and there were 4 lions standing to attack him. So lion below, lion above, he in the middle, desperate, no way to get out. This kind of terror. And this terror has ruled his entire life.
It was like a dark world when you're depressed. It's like you're surrounded by clouds, dark clouds. It's like you're inside a cave with no light in a dark tunnel. So right now, after I popped in the remedy, it was like there was light right at the end of the tunnel for the very first time. And it kept getting bigger and bigger, meaning that I was getting closer to this light, the opening.
The logic that it cannot work is completely defeated by experience. And as I say to my students all so often, I say every morning I go to my clinic convinced that homeopathy simply cannot work. It's impossible. And every evening I leave my clinic with the idea it does work, because patients tell me what happens, and not patients who are suggestible. I'm talking about 1-month-old children, infants, 3 months, 6 months.
Like I have 2 daughters, and with the older one, I was actually sailing with her for a lot of years. My second daughter, she was born all right, normal, everything was fine, and she just had a lot of these body rashes, in her first 6 months of her birth. When the attack comes on in this problem, nephrotic syndrome, the body bloats up. The blood starts taking in protein, so there's swelling, there's edema, there's huge edema. You become almost 5 to 6 times your normal size. So if she was like 13 kilos at one point, she would become 60 kilos or 70 kilos. How old was she? And she was like 2 years old at that time. the only remedy for this is steroids. By and by, we also realized that steroid does a lot of other damage. Like, I think she began to have cataract in one eye. And her blood pressure used to shoot up to, I don't know what, her cholesterol used to be 800, which is phenomenal. And I remember my husband and I would not sleep all night, just look at her and say, okay, now there's going to be a heart attack, now there's going to be a heart attack, you know. There was one point where she started vomiting blood. Her stomach started paining, and this was despite that intravenous steroids going on. She was under attack, she was completely bloated, and she had acute stomach pain. That was after a long period of so many years. That was the first time I thought, it's over now, you know, because you were strong through that episode of every medicine working on her. But throwing up blood was something I had never imagined. That brought me to homeopathy in a true way, at least encountering Dr. Sankaran.
A very important part of holistic care is the idea of stress. But many times with patients, that simply to tell them stop worrying or start meditating is not effective. The way they are programmed to think and live overwhelms them, overpowers them, leaves no space for anything else. And that needs to be first addressed with the right remedy that matches exactly who they are, that mirrors to them the song that is playing within them. And by that subconscious awareness, healing can happen.
If there's been a surgery, for a year, you cannot have steroids go into the body. It would have a worse effect because any kind of slight infection which is left would get blown up. So that point, I think, was a turning point. I went to see a homeopath in Mulund because one of my neighbors said, no, you must go and see him. Maybe he can help you out. So I went to see this homeopath in Mulund, and he told me, no, I can't help you. This case is quite a drastic case, but it has been wonderfully managed. I see your daughter and I see it's wonderfully managed. I'm not going to touch this case. There's only one doctor who can touch this case, and that's Dr. Sankaran.
I think that homeopathy is a great science, is fantastic science. And its potential as well as its challenge lies in individualizing the patient. It's also its greatness because the whole philosophy is that when you treat the individual, you treat the core problem. But also, each individual needs his own remedy. And how do we identify that? What we do in case taking is try to take any one area of his life and go deeper and deeper and deeper till we come to that central core experience. And that experience can be translated into a mineral experience, a plant experience, or a survival experience of an animal. And that helps us to identify the remedy from another angle than the angle of symptoms. When you identify that, then you know which kingdom the person belongs and which specific part of that kingdom. If it's an animal, is it a mollusk, an insect, a mammal, a bird? We have mapped the whole thing out beautifully in the last 20 years. And this has been the biggest advance, at least for me, in homeopathy. And that has helped me in that crucial area of being sure or definite about which remedy I need to give.
Sometimes I think problems withdraw into your insides and they create health issues and turbulences, almost like psychosomatic, no? So this change has come over her, since we started homeopathy. Today we have a dog thanks to, this whole treatment, because she's one person who just wouldn't even stand in the same vicinity if there was a dog around. So there has been a change in that process, though I can't, it's very difficult to pinpoint, no? It's very difficult to say that, okay, this caused this change. But having seen her through this process, yes, I feel her whole nature has gone through a kind of a 360-degree turn, and I don't mind the way it is now, because at least her health issues have been tackled.
Well, I think that's given me a lot of internal stability. I mean, more than everybody else in my grade. Like, you think about other 16-year-old kids. Then you look at me. Yeah. Some praise is due, right? Yeah.
But I would say in your tradition, regardless of what, the school picnic was 100% attendance. And the school was so good.
I still remember that. I mean, so often every time I was low, it was you who came to me, not daddy, but you came to me and said it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I do remember you guys would sit, the swing was there in the old house, and then y'all would sit at night and it was dark, so I didn't know where y'all was, so y'all would be on the swing and sometimes crying. I remember you crying on the swing in the dark a lot, so yeah, that was... I don't remember anything, I was asleep. Good. Yeah, so I was passing by and I overheard her talking to Ria, and she's just like, Ria's probably crying or complaining, probably about some random school things. And she's like, it's okay, this doesn't matter, Ria. And, life is more than this. Life is... I was like, wow, man. People my age don't understand things like that. No, none of us do. I mean, she's got some clarity. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, tell me this dream about the dog.
There's this passage outside our house, a common passage, which connects to all the flats. I'm just playing with a dog over there. I don't have a pet or a dog, anything. I'm just playing with a dog. The dog is running from one side and jumping onto me, and I'm just deflecting it away. I'm playing with it. And suddenly my hand hits its mouth, and the jaw falls out of the dog's mouth, broken into 4 pieces. Like the upper jaw is in 2 pieces, the lower jaw is in 2 pieces. It's in 4 pieces. The pieces are lying over there, and the dog runs down the stairs.
So it's like, it's just one piece gets divided, split right from the center into 2 parts.
Describe the symmetrical.
Symmetrical would be like, both parts are equal, both parts are similar, absolutely, they mirror each other. So that would be symmetry.
What do you mean by mirror each other?
It just shows that, it is probably the same thing, but it's just an image of it.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a different thing altogether.
Mm-hmm.
So,
His perception is, I am so dependent on her, without her I will feel incomplete. That is his perception. We can call it his imagination, his view of reality. In homeopathy we call it his delusion. Our search was how to be more sure, more definite about the remedy selection. And the second search was, which was something I took as my life's mission, how to reduce the differences between the homeopaths themselves, how to come to a methodology that is more definite, more standard, and that different homeopaths can come to similar conclusions. So you see almost a mirror image of the mollusk in his inner story. And so we will give him the remedy clam, which in homeopathy is called, what is it called? Venus mercenaria.
It's not too hot. It's around 11 a.m. in the morning in Bangalore, and the temperature is about 28 degrees. Yeah, that's quite normal here. It's a pretty cool city. Quite cool. It just doesn't get too hot.
I'm very grateful to Samuel Hahnemann. He's buried in France, and just go there and say a prayer and put a bouquet of flowers in his, express my thanks. He was a medical doctor. That was over 200 years ago, and he was not happy with the way things were turning out because he was giving out these chemical preparations, and he was not happy that it was not really giving him the results that were expected. So he started doing research, and he came across this method of homeopathy. And yeah, very, very grateful to him.
We did only 2 years of homeopathy, and by say 1 year, 2 months is when all the parameters in her body had stabilized. And when I came into homeopathy, I came with a cholesterol report of 800 and something. And I think 1 year down the line, I was asked to do a cholesterol, and I said, no, I don't want to do it. No, you do it now and we'll see what it is. And it was 230. So something was done in the body because there was no allopathy happening, there was no other medication happening, just homeopathy. And very slowly, first 3 to 4 months, nothing happened. Very slowly, it kind of grappled with the problem. And grappled with it to such an extent that after 2 years, I was told, now you have to stop the medication. And I was quite happy to do that because I could see her completely stable by then. I could see her completely normal.
There is a favorite song of Mahatma Gandhi, Vaishnavajana to tene kahiye, je peeda parai jane re. The man of God is he who recognizes the pain of the other, who knows the pain of the other. And I believe that spirituality must be something like this. So, the idea of the homeopathic case-taking process, witnessing, seeing that there is no objective reality, takes you closer to, one would say, an experience of being in deep sleep while you are fully awake. And that's the joy of being.